Hello everyone, my name is Gareth Herbert. I'm one of the coaches at Archway Table Tennis Club. Like myself, you'll find that you've got quite a lot of spare time on your hands at the moment, so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to ask that massive magic question: who is the greatest table tennis player of all time? I gave you just a few short hours to get your responses into me. So thank you ever so much for that. It's been an overwhelming response. As you know, this is a bit of a different time for all of us. It's a crazy time. So crazy, in fact, that I even got a nomination. Whilst I appreciate it, I know there's so many more people out there that have done so much more on the sport of table tennis than I have. So without further ado, let's get into it.
For me, I think the best player ever has to be Ma Long. There's been a lot of players, through the generations that have sort of changed the way table tennis is played, and they're obviously up there. But for me, just for sheer, number of wins and the titles that he's won pretty much everything you can win really, and just for the way that he did it, he went 3 years sort of unbeaten pretty much. He's spent 3 years almost at #1 in the world.
Hi everyone, I'm Thiago Monterio from Brazil. For me, the best player ever is Malong. To me, he's the most dominant table tennis player we've ever seen. See you guys.
Hello everyone, it's Paul Drinkall here. Hope you're having a good Easter. The greatest male player ever is Malong. I think looking at his results, you can't take that away from him. However, my favourite player ever is Wang Lechin.
So I think the best player ever is Ma Long. I think his results speak for themselves. He's obviously he's reigning Olympic champion. He's won the World Championships, team and singles. And in my opinion, he's the most complete player to have ever played.
I think the best player ever is Mima Ito from Japan, because I really like her style. She has very unique shots, such as short balls. She's developed lots of different serves and receives of balls, so I think that's really cool. And I really like her mindset as well in the match. She always looks very calm and very confident.
Hi everybody, it's Gavin Evans here. My nomination for the greatest male table tennis player of all time is the dictator, Ma Long. I think he's played the game to the highest level it's ever been played at. 3 times singles world champion, Olympic champion, and he remained #1 in the world for 34 consecutive months.
Hi everyone, Stephen Jenkins here. My nomination for the greatest table tennis player of all time is the Mozart of table tennis, Jan Ovi Volner. Not only did Volner achieve everything in the game, he did it over a 20-year period. He dominated the Chinese, who at the time were unbeatable, and he dominated 3 or 4 eras of Chinese.
Hey guys, it's Leon the Magician here. So another magic trick I like to do to table tennis players when I'm performing to them is this one. So we'll give them a mix, and you can see every single card in here is a different one. And let's say the random player selects this one, for example, and let's see what they find. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, they find Ma Long. Look, there he is. Have a look, that's his little picture. Yep. So I'm going to make sure this is the only Ma Long card. So I'm going to go X, I'm going to put my own name like this, and we make sure that that is the only Ma Long card in the deck. So watch, we're going to take Ma Long and we're going to place Ma Long somewhere into the mixture of the training hall, somewhere hidden. And believe it or not, he's just so fast that he just jumps back like that.
I think he's Olympic champion, Grand Slam champion, and 3 times world champion. At the end of the day, every player can play backhand, forehand, touch, loop. It's just Ma Long worked harder.
Waldner was the best player ever because he was the first Grand Slam winner, and because how well he understood the game. He was also the first player I watched, so he was really a big inspiration for me in table tennis.
My favourite and greatest player to play table tennis has to be, it was hard, it was either Ma Long or Janjika, but I have to go with Ma Long. He's probably the GOAT of table tennis. I mean, my favourite player of all time.
I think the greatest player of all time is Janové Voldner. Not only did he win everything there was to win as a singles player, Worlds, Olympics, European top 12 7 times, he also did it as part of a team, and he did it over a longer period of time than anyone else.
The greatest table tennis player of all time, I think, has to be Ma Long. If you'd asked me a couple of years ago, I would have probably said Janové Voldner, who was probably one set away from definitely being the greatest player of all time in Sydney in the Olympics. But in this era of professionalism in the 21st century, to win 3 consecutive World Championships and Olympics, multiple World Cups, and basically be universally considered the best player on the planet in this era, I think Ma Long has to go down as the best player of all time. That's my vote.
Okay, so my favourite player of all time has to be the great Janové Voldner. Such a successful career, achieved everything there was to achieve, and the reason he was my favourite player is he was just incredible to watch, made the game look incredibly easy, really creative, great innovation, is the greatest player ever.
I think the best player of all time is Ma Long. The reason I'm going to go for him is because he's almost textbook in terms of like technical perfection. Also, he's won obviously some serious major titles. Now, a lot of people might argue that Voldner's the best player of all time, but the way I see it, Voldner was so natural. His game was almost God-given, so he almost found it too easy. So I'm going to go for Ma Long because I think he's had to engineer that style and that technique, which is so difficult to do from a young age. So that's my choice.
So my best player ever would be Janové Voldner, Swedish legend, was able to perform under the greatest of pressure and take it to the Chinese and all the top talents in the world. Would always stay so cool under pressure, immensely talented. He could do it all. Janové Voldner.
I think the best player ever is Janové Voldner. He is one of the most technically complete players and has brought such a new dimension to the game. His variation of the blocking and the spinning has really taken table tennis to the next level. He had exceptional feeling, anticipation for the ball, and showed such a calmness on the table.
For me, without a doubt, has to be Janové Voldner from Sweden. Not only the only European player ever to win Olympic gold in the men's singles in Barcelona in '92, I just don't think there's ever been a player that makes the game look so easy. And I think he's just an absolute genius.
Greatest player of all time for me would be Janové Voldner. During the 80s and 90s, he was the first European, what I could see, who was breaking up the dominance of the Chinese, won everything in the game.
Okay, so best player of all time, the GOAT as they call him, it's got to be Ma Long. Just look at the titles he's won, his records. Here we go, I'll leave them for you. So he's the current world and Olympic champion. He was number 1 for 64 months in total.
My best player ever is Desmond Douglas. He was 11 times English champion, and in an era dominated by the Chinese, his ice ranking was 7.
I think that Ma Long is the best ever player because of his ability to consistently perform at the highest level, winning multiple world championships, Olympic titles and ITTF events, as well as his near-perfect forehand technique and his respectful nature to his opponents on the table.
Okay, who do I think is the greatest table tennis player ever? I'd have to say Deng Yuping. She's won 4 Olympic gold medals, 18 World Championship medals. She's only ever lost 4 matches in her whole playing career. And I think that's a feat that will be struggled to be beaten ever.
Hi guys, Will Bailey here. I just want to say my favourite table tennis player of all time has got to be Janové Voldner. I was going to say Jan Shika, but...
In my opinion, best player of all time has to be Janové Voldner, for a couple of reasons really. The first being that he won every major competition, breaking the dominance of China. And the second reason is his style of play. He was so unpredictable, could play every stroke.
My favourite player of all time is the German left-hander Timo Boll. Boll is one of the few European players to challenge the Chinese dominance of the game over the past 25 years. And despite many injury setbacks, he has won countless European, Olympic and world medals.
Hi, my name is Ismaila Akindia. I would like to talk about the best table tennis player ever. The best table tennis player ever is Segun Toriola of Nigeria because he's the first African across all sports to compete at 7 Olympic Games. He won the men's single gold medal at Manchester 2002 Commonwealth Games. He also won gold medals at 4 All-African Games. Thank you.
I think Swisha is the best player ever because she is very fast and she's very powerful. Any girls are only fast, and that's the difference. She has very powerful shots, and she also has very good feeling on the ball.
The best player for me in the world ever would have to be Waldner, because the things he could do you couldn't actually coach, and winning the World Championships without dropping a single set, he has to be the world's best player ever.
For me, the greatest player of all time has to be Ma Long from China. Not only did he win the Olympic Games in 2016, he's also won 3 back-to-back World Championships consecutively, which is the first player in the modern era, so the last 50 years, to do such a thing. He's also won all of the ITTF World Tour Grand Finals. And
Table tennis. I think the best player ever was Guo Yaohua from 1976 to 1983. World champion, 11 World Championship medals, and I think he was the best ever because he was technically the most proficient player.
Hi guys, I think that Ma Long is the best player ever to live. He's dominated ever since I started playing table tennis, and he's won 3 consecutive World Championships in a row, so I think that's a very good reason why I can call him the best player ever.
I'm going to agree with my brother on this one. I think that he's been #1 for the longest amount of time in history, and he seems to dominate the game since I can remember anyway. So, yeah, stay safe, everybody.
Stay safe, guys. I'll see you soon.
I think the best player ever is Timo Boll. He's been beating the Chinese regularly for over 10 years, and given the practice he gets access to, he's done well to keep competing with them. So, yeah, Timo Boll for me.
I think from what I've seen, I think Ma Long's the best player in the world. I think it's Ma Long because he's mastered the modern game with his attacking style, and his technique seems perfect. He makes less mistakes than everyone else. Obviously his statistics and trophies and whatnot prove and back my point up, isn't it?
Personally for me, I think the best player of all time has to be Jan-Ove Waldner, because even though we can compare the 2 different eras, I feel like he dominated in his era, and with a combination of his skill, his talent, and his intelligence of the game, that he'd be able to translate his game into today's game quite easily and still be able to dominate in today's game as well.
I think the best player ever is Ma Long because he's won the Olympics, and I also think he's the most consistent player out of all the top players because he's won the World Championships 3 times in a row.
Greatest player of all time, that's an easy one, Gareth Herbert. No, seriously, it's very hard to compare eras, but when you look at the stats, Ma Long in the men, and I saw him play in Budapest in the World Championships last year. Very, very impressive. Deng Yaping in the ladies, she finished playing in the 90s, but her record speaks for itself.
Hey, Liam McTiernan here. In terms of performance, I think the best player ever is Ma Long. The top level he's reached is unbelievable, and his results say it all. However, for me, the best player ever is Jean-Michel Save, because not only did he reach world #1, but for years after, he continued to play and put on a performance in every single match.
Hi, my name is Naomi, and I think the best player ever is Jan-Ove Waldner. He's the only European player to ever win the singles title at the Olympics, and he won the world singles title without dropping a set.
I think the best ever player is probably Wang Lichin. He paved the way for a lot of players and how they played today, especially on the forehand side. So I think he's a legend, and he's changed a lot in the sport.
The greatest table tennis player ever is Jan-Ove Waldner of Sweden. I believe that his game is totally unique and individual to him. Not many other players have played the similar style that he has.
How you doing, everyone? Darren Blake, ex-table tennis player. When talking about the best ever table tennis player, it has to be Jan-Ove Waldner. I watched him live, I played against him. The amount of trophies he won, World Championships, Olympics, European Championships, and the longevity of his career.
Hi everyone, I think the best player ever is Jan-Ove Waldner
because quite simply I think he was the most skillful and the player I enjoy watching the most.
I think Harimoto is one of the best players I've ever seen. At such a young age, he has beaten so many of the world's top players with his close distance and aggressive playing style. I think he will dominate men's table tennis in the near future.
I think Waldner is the best player of all time because from everything he did when he was playing, from his serves to his forehand to whatever shot he wanted to play, he could execute everything, which was also calculated yet perfect, and he made it all look effortless at the same time.
Hello everyone, I think Gareth Herbert is the best player ever in table tennis. The reason why is because firstly of his serves, the best server ever in the world. Found a way always to get in first, that way you're always dangerous. However, his style of play amazing, same as the Chinese.
So when we're talking about best table tennis players ever, it's quite an interesting one because I think a lot of people would go with Chinese players for their power and their great forehands, but for me, Jan-Ove Waldner, his control, the block, use of the backhand, switch, deception, is just clever. I mean, he had so much natural ability.
I think for me, the best player ever right now would have to be Ma Long because of his dominance over a decade or more, and also because of all the medals and championships that he's won, and also because of his play style. He never really lost to maybe foreigners, and also never had any like big upsets where other players beat him.
Best player ever to me is Waldner. I know that'll be boring because everyone's going to say that, but yeah, I think he had the best vision that anyone's ever had. And when I say vision, I mean the ability to watch the other player, see where they are, see where they don't want it, and be smart in his placement and his decision making.
I think the best player ever is Timo Boll because of how good his achievements are, and also because of the fact that he's still playing at such a high level today.
Hi, my name's John Davis. In my mind, the best table tennis player ever is Ma Long, the dictator. The level he's taken table tennis to is unreal. The events he's won, the majors, when it counts, he's always there. Ma Long, the dragon.
For me, the best player ever is Ru Sung-min. His forehand and his footwork were absolutely incredible, and he won the 2004 Olympic Games. And I think the modern table tennis game is testament to how hard it must have been to win an Olympic Games by only using his forehand. He hardly used any backhands in that match. So for me, he's the best player.
One person, the ultimate player, was Waldner. Serves, forehand, off the bounce, blocks, chop blocks. He is the ultimate table tennis player with his touch.
In my opinion, the best player is Ju Se-hyuk from Korea because he's so consistent and unpredictable. But I think also Joe Killerand with his reverse serve was also a contender for best player.
Hey, my name is Samir Polpadin, and my favorite table tennis player from all time is Zhang Zhike. I think his forehand and his backhand is simply amazing. One of the best players I've ever seen my entire life. He's simply one of the best.
Hi everyone, this is Arfi here from Urban Table Tennis. I would like to nominate for the best male player of all times Jan-Ove Waldner, because from 1982 until 2016 he dominated and inspired the international table tennis scene. As a female player, I would like to nominate Tamara Boros.
Hi. One of the greatest players of all time has to be Timo Boll. He's dynamic, he's an ultimate professional, and over the last 20 years of all the changes, he's got the ability to have adapted to all of them. And at nearly 40 years old, he's still Europe's greatest threat to the Chinese. Timo.
The best player ever is Ma Long. The reason why Ma Long's the best player ever is because of his results. He's been able to win the most major competitions, the most pro tours, and he's been so consistent in his dominance over the rest of the world.
Hi everyone, this is Kylie Kadiri from Sweden. I'm probably going to be a bit biased here, but I have to say Jan-Ove Waldner is the greatest table tennis player of all time. Having played in the same team as him for several years, I've seen up close what he achieved under pressure, winning Olympics, World Championships, etc.
Hi everyone, my name is Dave Zaltzberg from Australia, and I'm talking about the greatest men's table tennis player of all time, who in my opinion, without doubt, is Jean-Philippe Garcia of France. I know this may surprise some of you, but the other natural alternatives like Jan-Ove Waldner or Ma Long were athletes who were born with considerable natural talent, gifted, many would say, whereas Jean-Philippe Garcia managed to become world singles champion in 1993 and #1 in the world with absolutely no talent. Just a stroke, a forehand.
Best player ever off the top of my head, Ma Long, most complete player. He's class. Obviously, it's very difficult to compare generations, and I would say that Wang Lichin probably had the best forehand. I love that forehand, unbelievable. Big fades. And Wang Hao, best backhand ever in terms of revolutionising the penhold grip.
Zhang Zhika. I think the best player is Zhang Zhika. Between 2011 and 2014, he was, to me, playing at a level higher than I've seen anyone else reach. He was pretty much unstoppable, winning his first world title in 2011. He then went on to win the Grand Slam in less than a year, and he's the fourth player to do that.
So I think the best player ever is easily Ma Long. 3-time world champion, 1-time Olympic champion. Even just like the records he's got against other players. So like Dmitry Oktarov, 17-0, never lost to him. More than they've won.
I think the best player ever to play table tennis is Jan-Ove Waldner from Sweden, just because of his longevity, deception, the way he used to sort of construct points, variation in how he won the points. He could play with power, with spin, with placement. Fantastic variation of serve. I played against him a few times, so I know firsthand how he used to trick people into making the wrong shot.
I think Ma Long is the best table tennis player in the world in this generation. He's won the Grand Slam of the World Championships, World Cup and Olympic singles. His forehand is amazing, his athleticism around the court and his strength on the table, as well as mental strength, is outstanding.
Hi guys, greatest all-round player ever, I would say. Who comes to mind? The mighty Jan-Ove Waldner, of course. Des Douglas, that's a surprise. Callan Krianga. Or what about Matthew Syed? Frankly, I'd like to combine them all, and then you've got an unbeatable, unbelievable player.
Right, the greatest table tennis player of all time, in my opinion, is... standard-wise, I would say that Ma Long has played to the highest standard, and possibly before him Wang Lichin. But in terms of what he's achieved and how he achieved it, I'd probably say that Jan-Ove Waldner is the greatest table tennis player.
Hello World Table Tennis, Leroy Pye here, former Youth England international player. Yeah, I think personally the best table tennis player, in my opinion, has to be Timo Boll. Of course, the likes of Jan-Ove Waldner, unquestionable talent, most talented ever. I don't think there'll ever be a second Jan-Ove Waldner or anyone that will ever come close. But statistically, and I don't have the statistics to hand, I would say that Timo Boll has to have beaten most records. He's still out there playing today.
Great debate, guys. Really interesting to hear some of your thoughts on who is the greatest player of all time. I can't wait to see your comments and the comments from other people who haven't been able to put a video in. But for now, stay safe. Over and out.